Are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Yes, it is time once again that we get things started on AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, and welcome one and all to an exciting and fun-filled episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Now, before I go ahead and get things started, I just want to start things off by giving you a little bit of a heads up that we might not be talking a whole lot about animation specifically. There might be some other news that are going to be coming up that will be a bit of a bonus miscellaneous, but those are going to be towards the end. However, right at the start, I got three very similar news where they're all related to announcements to a brand new animated series. But either way, this is still going to be an exciting episode, a hilarious episode, and something of which that I'm sure we're all gonna have a great time here. So before I go and get things started, I would like to ask the chat wall, guys, are you all ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, guys. Are you all ready now? Oh, you know what? That's kind of funny. It's kind of funny how you all start with, aye, Captain. There's a lot of aye, Captains that I see. Well, funny thing about that, because, why don't we go ahead and get this one started? Because the thing is, our first story that we are going to be covering will be about SpongeBob SquarePants. And in this week in particular, SpongeBob has made some news going around. There have been some that are related to TV shows, what's happening in the current series, and also some other stuff. One, for example, that a lot of people have been excited about is actually regarding a remake to the fan-favorite game Battle for Bikini Bottom. Which, for me personally, I did enjoy Battle for Bikini Bottom as a kid, but I'm not particularly all that interested in having a remake because, well, I already have the original, so I don't really see that much of a point to just go back into it when I could just go back to what I already have on my GameCube. But that is not what we are going to be talking about, though. What we shall be discussing about instead is another big news coming from SpongeBob, which is actually going to be the first spin-off series of SpongeBob SquarePants, in which we are going to go back to SpongeBob's childhood to Kamp Koral. Yes, folks, Nickelodeon has officially revealed that they have greenlighted the first SpongeBob series, the first SpongeBob spin-off series, which is going to be called Kamp Koral, where it sets back to when SpongeBob was 10 years old and he was attending a camp that's called Kamp Koral. If I may go and read from my source here in Deadline, the plot has stated to be that in the series, SpongeBob and his pals spend the summer building underwater campfires, catching wild jellyfish, and swimming in Lake Yucky at the craziest camp in the kelp forest, Kamp Koral. SpongeBob SquarePants Mark Cesarelli, I think that's how you pronounce his name, maybe not, I don't know, and Vincent Waller will be co-executive producing the prequel. We also got a quote here coming from Ramsey Nato, who is Nickelodeon's EVP of Animation Production and Development, where Ramsey has stated, SpongeBob has an incredible universe to expand upon, and the green light of Kamp Koral is a testament to the strength and longevity of these characters known and loved by generations for fans around the world. Now, you gotta keep in mind about something that this is all part of Nickelodeon's big plan in order to really expand SpongeBob, more so than just the TV show. Now, of course, they've already had a few movies and one more coming up called It's a Wonderful Sponge, and on top of that, you also got the Broadway show that was a major hit and even won a Tony Award, or I think even a few, maybe I'm wrong on that, But it was actually revealed a little bit earlier this year in February that they wanted to do a whole bunch of spin-off series related to SpongeBob. Now, this is one of them, of course, where we got a prequel series, and then also, they might want to also develop spin-off shows based on some of the characters, like have a series based on Squidward, or Patrick, or Sandy, or Mr. Krabs, and all those guys, so that could be a possibility, but it seems that Kamp Koral is going to be the first one. Oh! And before I forget, there is one thing that I almost slipped out by mentioning, is that unlike the animated series that we got right now with SpongeBob SquarePants, Kamp Koral is actually going to be computer animated. Yes, it will be CG animated, and for now, Nickelodeon has only greenlit 13 episodes of this series in particular. Now, there is no official release date of when Kamp Koral is going to be coming out, but we know that at this point, it'll probably be sometime early in the 2020 decade. Now, when I first saw this news, I have to admit that I was a little bit intrigued, and I do find it to be a little bit interesting about the idea of what they want to do with SpongeBob. Basically, the whole idea of, like, bringing SpongeBob into camping and have the whole show be set around that. I do feel like this is just going to be SpongeBob meets Camp Lazlo. And Camp Lazlo is probably the perfect example of what else that we could compare in terms of what this series could be. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this is just the SpongeBob version of Camp Lazlo, because Camp Lazlo actually does have a very strong connection to SpongeBob. And with Kamp Koral, it really does go full circle. Because here's the thing. Camp Lazlo was created by Joe Murray. And as you guys know, Joe Murray is also the creator of Rocko's Modern Life. And during the time Rocko's Modern Life was fresh and new during the 90s, Stephen Hillenburg was actually a prominent person working at Rocko's Modern Life, doing several different jobs, including writing and directing, I believe. And then from there, after Rocko, that's when Stephen Hillenburg decided to go and create SpongeBob SquarePants. And now that we got Kamp Koral, it really does go all together with the circle of SpongeBob, Camp Lazlo, and Rocko's Modern Life, where we see all the connections coming together for this show in particular. Now, with that said, though, it is interesting to go and point out that, and in my perspective, like for me, that's why I do feel a little bit open-minded for this series in particular. Of course, I used to be a major SpongeBob fan, but also, I was a major Camp Lazlo fan. I remember that Camp Lazlo was the last animated series from Cartoon Network that I loved watching before I kind of moved on from Cartoon Network and television shows altogether and moved on to growing up, basically. So yeah, like with these combination of ideas, I wouldn't object to the idea of what they want to do with Kamp Koral, which by the way, on a side note, it even stated that Kamp Koral is going to be the working title. Maybe it's not going to be that, or maybe it's just like maybe in the future it'll officially be titled like SpongeBob's Camping Adventures or something like that. We don't know, but for now we're just going to call it Kamp Koral. However, there is one major catch to it, and something about this news that really got a lot of people talking. But at the same time, there are people who would talk very negatively regarding this, and a lot of people who seem to be upset. And especially, this is coming from the cartoon community. In fact, with the cartoon community, Kamp Koral is an idea that seems to be very controversial. Now, on that aspect, I'm not necessarily all that surprised, because as we all know, regarding the cartoon community, if there is one thing that they love doing the most, is complain about anything SpongeBob SquarePants related. Pretty much to go out and say that most things from SpongeBob after season 3 pretty much suck. They love to hate it, they love to complain about it, they love to comment on it, they love to make videos about it. It's just a sport that they love doing. They love complaining about SpongeBob as much as they love complaining about cartoon reboots and Butch Hartman along with Fairly Odd Parents. It's just something that it's not surprising that they would go out and immediately hate and comment negatively on something like Kamp Koral because it's the cartoon community. That's what they do. And at first, you would think that when you would see people complaining about Kamp Koral that are a part of the cartoon community, it wouldn't be surprising that your first reaction would be just to roll your eyes and just tell them to shut up. But when you hear about what they are complaining about specifically, that's when we are getting into things that are actually pretty interesting. Like, they do bring up some curious points that they're not even bad points, that they actually are worth discussing. Because the thing is with Kamp Koral, people are accusing Nickelodeon of basically heavily capitalizing on SpongeBob SquarePants. Like, literally, for Nickelodeon with SpongeBob, they want to make it their Simpsons and really exploit the living crap out of it. And on top of that, some people are even accusing of Nickelodeon that they're pretty much going full speed on exploiting SpongeBob with all these spin-off series ideas, especially in terms of the timing, that they're doing this straight after the passing of Stephen Hillenburg. That now Stephen Hillenburg has passed away, Nickelodeon can pretty much do whatever they want with SpongeBob and just go crazy with all these spin-off series. And this is something that even Paul Tibbitt, if you guys don't know, he was actually the showrunner of SpongeBob SquarePants between Season 4 and Season 9. And from there, he actually got upset about the news and even called out Nickelodeon that they're really just exploiting SpongeBob for money and that Stephen Hillenburg wouldn't have approve of this and all that kind of stuff. Now, that is a very interesting topic of discussion right there, because the thing with that, like, they do actually bring up some very valid points. There are some strong points, because the thing is, at the end of the day, we all know that with Nickelodeon, they are a corporation. And the priority number one of corporations is that they want to make money, even if it means to get rid of a lot of their own moral fiber in order to do so. And that's why the timing of this feels especially shady. In fact, this week, actually, we have pretty much seen a prominent example of corporations having no moral fiber and just really doing whatever they want for the sake of making a profit, especially with YouTube. I mean, holy crap. I just want to say, on a side note, this was the week that YouTube and Google are in serious frickin' trouble, where they were massively called out for basically... I'm at a loss. I just lost my train of thought. But basically, they're pretty much in so much trouble of pretty much prioritizing their more popular creators, and they want to try to give like their more popular creators a pass, even if they broke terms and services. So yeah, like, people are not looking at YouTube very highly right now because of that. It's a long story. I'd rather not discuss about it, because the more I talk about it, the more it makes me hate YouTube, honestly. But anyways, going back into SpongeBob, yes, there is that section where it does feel very shady of Nickelodeon as a corporation, where they basically waited until Stephen Hillenburg passed away, until they can pretty much do whatever they want with SpongeBob. Now, with that said, though, that is just an accusation. We don't necessarily have any 100% confirmations that this is really the case. You never know what's actually going on behind the scenes. It's actually pretty vague, and we don't know for sure if that truly is Nickelodeon's intentions, or if they wanted to do that for a very long time. Because one thing's for sure, I know for a fact that for more than a decade, Nickelodeon wanted to do a spin-off series of SpongeBob of some sort. I know there was at one point that they actually wanted to do SpongeBob Babies or something like that, and that was back during the mid-2000s, and I think that was even back during the days when Stephen Hillenburg was in charge of SpongeBob. But one thing that I do know is that this is nothing necessarily new, and I know that Nickelodeon has always wanted to really try something in terms of making more TV shows based on SpongeBob. So in this case right over here, I'm sure that this was an idea that they have been developing for years, and who knows, maybe Stephen Hillenburg did actually have a say in terms of what Kamp Koral would be. Maybe Stephen Hillenburg was sharing ideas with Nickelodeon in terms of possibly what they can do in terms of developing several different SpongeBob series. I mean, it's not hard to imagine that it would take them a long time to develop an idea like Kamp Koral and pass it on to Nickelodeon. Just last week, we actually just discussed about an animated series that was thought up by Stan Lee. And Stan Lee passed away around the same time as Stephen Hillenburg. So, do you think it wouldn't be that much of a surprise if Stephen Hillenburg was actually the guy who thought up of something like Kamp Koral? I mean, I know this is just a theory, and maybe I could be totally wrong on that, but like, the theory that I brought up has equally as much validations as accusing Nickelodeon of just waiting until Stephen Hillenburg passed away in order to really make a profit off of SpongeBob SquarePants. Who knows? But for me, personally, I feel like I want to be a bit open-minded. I am a fan of SpongeBob, and even if it does sound like it's going to be just like Camp Lazlo, I do like Camp Lazlo, and maybe they'll bring in something unique with this series over here. Who knows? Maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's bad, but I feel like so far the only thing we do know is just a little bit of an idea of what Kamp Koral is going to be, so I think it's going to be for the best that I'm going to keep a wait-and-see attitude with what they want to try to develop with Kamp Koral. When is that going to come out? I don't know. Maybe it's going to be next year, maybe it's not going to be until, like, the next few years, but ultimately, we're just going to wait and see on that. Okay, so with that said, I would like to go and pass on the mic to the chat wall, and I would like to ask you, what do you think of Kamp Koral? Is it something that you guys would like to be interested in checking out? Are you guys disappointed that Nickelodeon has done this? Are you on the side that you're more for Kamp Koral, or are you against Nickelodeon for doing this? Let me know what you think. Write down your comments, and I'll get back to you after my little drink. Okay, what the fridge do we have here? What do the people have to say now? Let's see. Let me give you some insight. Stephen Hillenburg despised both spin-offs of his work and de-aging his characters to the point where concept of SpongeBob being a kid almost got him to walk out. And talks of combining both didn't even start until Hillenburg died. Really let that sink in. And also, may I add, this is not an accusation, it's on the official SpongeBob wiki. Okay, well, I won't doubt you on the aspect of how Stephen Hillenburg thought. Okay, maybe you do have a point on that, but saying that your source is from the SpongeBob wiki, I don't know, like, if you can have a more valid, source than a SpongeBob Wikipedia, maybe, like, I can bite into that, but so far, like, taking things from your source as, like, the SpongeBob Wiki, you need to work a little bit more on that. I'm just saying, you can't just use Wikipedia as your main source. You gotta go a little bit deeper on it. I'm not doubting you, I'm not saying you're wrong, it's just, you know, like, can I ask for, like, a much, like, a more stronger source is what I'm asking. Let's see. Don't we have a few episodes of the main SpongeBob series about camping, like the camping episode and the Inmates of Summer? Also, the fact that Stephen Hillenburg died and they decided to make a spin-off without his consent reminds me of how the show The Wacky World of Tex Avery was made without the real Tex Avery's consent because he was dead before the show was made. It's kind of disgusting to capitalize on the works of a recently passed away man. Yeah, I mean, I will give it to you guys. It is true that, like, if there is one bad thing from this series in particular, is the fact that the timing just seems a little bit disrespectful. That's kind of the problem, is that Stephen Hillenburg just passed away. It hasn't even been a year yet. He passed away on November of 2018, so you would think that give it a little bit of time. Like, just let SpongeBob run its course. Like, like, focus on just doing, like, the 20th anniversary and stuff like that before really going full hog into doing whatever you want. I mean, technically, there's nothing legally wrong with this, considering that SpongeBob does not belong to Stephen Hillenburg. It belongs to Nickelodeon. So technically, Nickelodeon is allowed to do whatever they would want to do with it, regardless of what Stephen Hillenburg would say, or regardless if he would be alive or not. So that's kind of the thing. I do understand, though, that the timing of all this, it feels a little bit off. Okay. What's this? AniMat, I think this show is a spin-off to the SpongeBob movie It's a Wonderful Sponge, meaning that Nickelodeon will copy the same movie from Neutron, Barnyard, and Wonder Park, even if the last one bombed. This is still a greedy move by Nickelodeon. I miss the times when they felt like the company was run by kids in the 90s. That maybe. I don't know, like, I do understand, like, the intentions of stuff like Jimmy Neutron, Barnyard, and eventually with Wonder Park, but with It's a Wonderful Sponge, I don't necessarily think so, because the point of It's a Wonderful Sponge is that it's meant to be, like, how we know everything. Like, this is supposed to be technically, like, what happened before the first episode, per se. Like, the way that I imagine It's a Wonderful Sponge is that the ending is going to be SpongeBob, like, ready to go and get a job at the Krusty Krab. That's what I think, at the very least. I don't know, but the thing with It's a Wonderful Sponge is that this is supposed to be SpongeBob at 10 years old, so it's gonna be hard to imagine that they would go directly from Kamp Koral and then directly from the SpongeBob we know, like, starting with the Help Wanted episode. So I don't know. I'm just gonna press the doubt button on that. Let's see. I think it's disrespectful on Nickelodeon to wait until Stephen Hillenburg, till he passed away. I can only think of two good baby cartoons, A Pup Named Scooby-Doo and Looney Tunes Babies. I will give this a watch because I'm a SpongeBob fanatic. Fingers crossed it's good. Dude, I just want to have a little bit of a comment, just a little bit, in terms of what you said about, like, the baby cartoons. You gotta throw in Muppet Babies, because the thing is, like, maybe you don't like the Muppets Babies and stuff like that, but I'm just saying, if you want to bring up baby cartoons like A Pup Named Scooby-Doo or Looney Tunes Babies and stuff like that, you have to bring up Muppet Babies. That's, like, kind of the one that really started it all. Like, I was just listening to my audiobook of Jim Henson by Brian J. Jones, and, like, I just actually passed the part where we discuss about Muppet Babies and how it originated from Muppets Take Manhattan and how it became, like, this revolutionary TV show that ended up spinning off so many different baby shows like A Pup Named Scooby-Doo. So I'm just saying, like, if we're gonna talk about baby cartoons, come on, we gotta bring in Muppet Babies. It's by law! Okay, I'm gonna go and read one more comment. Let's see now. When I heard about this news, I'm a bit optimistic about the prequel, although they could have stayed in 2D animation instead of CG in my opinion. Maybe it could have been a bad idea for Nickelodeon to make a prequel series, but then again, Jumanji 2 was announced and people got angry with Sony for making this after Robin Williams passed away. But then it turns out to be good with positive reception. If Sony did it well with that sequel, maybe Nickelodeon can do it well with this series. I'll wait and see. That's honestly a very interesting perspective. And and there are even some people who actually brought out Steve. Anyways. Oh, and yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, and already I'm getting comments about the way that I said that I pronounced his name. So is it Steven? Because it's spelled like Stefan, honestly. I don't know. Okay, but anyways, I'm already seeing a bunch of people even commenting about the argument regarding Jumanji 2, and yeah, it is actually a good point. So ultimately, I do feel like we will have to wait and see with how it goes with Kamp Koral. Again, we don't know when is it going to come out, but yeah, let's just hope for the best that at the very least, it can be a pretty enjoyable show. Okay, actually, first of all, let me get my water. That's some good waba. Anyways, as I was saying, let's go ahead and jump onto our next story right now, in which we do have a little bit of a similar theme, where this is another animated series that has been announced, and yes, it actually has to do with the theme of camping. Except this time around, we're not going to be camping with SpongeBob. We are going to go, oops, excuse me. Alright, just need to let that out a little bit. We are going to be camping with dinosaurs. And this is actually a project that's going to be brought to us by DreamWorks Animation in collaboration with Universal Pictures and Amblin Entertainment, where this camp we're going is not going to be Kamp Koral, but Kamp Cretaceous. Yes, DreamWorks Animation has announced that they got a brand new Netflix series coming out in 2020 called Jurassic World Kamp Cretaceous. And in terms of the plot, I'm going to read from my source here at Animation Scoop, as it states, Jurassic World Kamp Cretaceous follows a group of 6 teenagers chosen for a once-in-a-lifetime experience at a new adventure camp on the opposite side of Isla Nublar. I might have said that wrong, but whatever. But when dinosaurs wreak havoc across the island, the campers are stranded. Unable to reach the outside world, they'll need to go from strangers to friends to family if they're going to survive. And the people that are going to be involved are not just some of DreamWorks people, but also the people who have worked prominently on the Jurassic Park franchise, where it has also stated that Scott Kiemer and Lane Luerus. Okay, Scott Creamer and Lane Luerus serve as showrunners and executive producers. The series is executive produced by Steven Spielberg, Frank Marshall, and Colin Trevorrow. Zach Stens serve as consulting producer. Now, at the same time, I would like to add that there is also a teaser trailer that was released, but it's not really all that long. I think it's just about around 40 seconds or even just 40 seconds to half a minute long. It's not that much. I'm not going to show it to you because basically all it is just you see this forest going on, and then there's a raptor coming in and then notice you and just gives you a little bit of a jump scare. And right afterwards, you see the logo of Jurassic Park and you hear the little tune of you know, just that little thing. But honestly, the main reason why I'm not really going to show much to you, not just because there really isn't all that much, but mainly because it's going to be a lot easier for me to go and upload all this episode onto YouTube, so I don't have to deal with any of the copyright claims and stuff like that. Alright, but going back into this, I'm honestly quite surprised that it took them this long. Not necessarily DreamWorks, but it pretty much took Universal this long to give us a Jurassic Park series, because you would think that something like Jurassic Park would be an amazing idea, that they would turn this into an animated series and really capitalize on the success of the Jurassic Park movie, because as we all know, Jurassic Park is now considered as a major movie classic, and especially in a visual standpoint, it is absolutely revolutionary the way that they actually brought these dinosaurs to life, not just with CGI, but also with animatronics and many different visual effects in order to, once again, in order to bring to life these dinosaurs and to make Jurassic Park feel absolutely real, like it is a legitimate place that you can get into, which of course would go and spin off to Jurassic World. And that became a major franchise. Like, the first movie debatably could be one of the most successful movies that managed to really capitalize on nostalgia. And on a side note, there is one thing that I would like to say is actually pretty funny and pretty coincidental about what DreamWorks is doing here, because this is not necessarily the first time that DreamWorks is going to be handling a major franchise from Universal. Because before, sometime last year, I remember that they have revealed that DreamWorks Animation is going to be developing a series based on Fast and Furious. And that was really the first time that we do see this major collaboration with DreamWorks Animation and Universal since the whole purchase of the company. So from there, it's not necessarily all that surprising to see that they would also now go and try to do something with Jurassic World. Now, I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know if it's even still happening, because the last time we have heard anything from that Fast and Furious series is when it was actually announced late last year. Well, not late last year, but just last year, like several months ago. Now, maybe they're still in development. Maybe it's going to be coming out in 2020 or something like that. Maybe it got canceled. I don't know. But in here, it seems that we got much more of an official release date. Not only with the teaser trailer, but even the 2020, like even promising that it's going to come out sometime in 2020. Now, admittedly, with this series, I will admit that there is one thing that I am actually kind of concerned about. It's just, is this going to be more of its own thing, or is this more going to be like Jurassic World? Because I'll be honest with you guys, with Jurassic World, I'm not really a fan with the movies. Because when it comes to the actual Jurassic World movies, I'll give it that the visual effects are great, and the dinosaur scenes are awesome. Like, you want to see this movie because of the dinosaurs, and they definitely give you like all the dinosaurs and this entire theme park of dinosaurs. Like, that part is actually really cool. But then when you get into the actual movie element, when it's time to actually be a movie, that's when the film pretty much sucks. Not only is the writing pretty crappy, but even the actors aren't that good. Like, I know Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard are actually legitimately great actors, but Jurassic World is not a movie where their acting skills are good examples. Yeah, they're profitable, but not good examples of, like, movies that you want to find, I want to see Bryce Dallas Howard, like, at her best in terms of her acting skills. What should we watch? Jurassic World? No, you wouldn't do that. Hell no. And then you got the sequel. You got Fallen Kingdom, and oh boy, Fallen Kingdom, like that thing alone is like an entire package of just craziness right there. Like, I don't know how the fridge to say that thing, especially with the new ideas that they want to try to develop. It basically takes all the concepts of Jurassic Park and it just went whoopee! Like, it just went completely nuts, and I got completely lost out of it, and I don't know what the fridge is even going on with it. So with that said, one thing that I am honestly a little bit worried with Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous is regarding, is it going to be more its own thing, or is it going to be more like Jurassic World, that they want to try to capture that same feeling of Jurassic World, like the same feeling you would get to the movies, you would also get it in Jurassic World? Or is this more going to be its own series where it's going to be developing its own characters, it'll mostly try to be its own thing, but of course you're going to get all these different nods of the dinosaurs coming to life, like just honoring the concepts of Jurassic Park. Now, I know that, like, technically we do have, like, some of the main people who did Jurassic Park that are going to be looking over this project. Like, you got Steven Spielberg and you got Frank Marshall. But then you also got Colin Trevorrow, who was the director and I think also the writer as well of Jurassic World. And that's the part that I am a little bit worried about. So, honestly, as someone who is very indifferent in terms of the Jurassic World movies, this is one that I do feel a little bit more iffy about. Controversially, I would even say I have more confidence that Kamp Koral is going to be better than something like Jurassic World. Because with Jurassic World, how is it going to be? Is it going to be like a legit series that's going to be based on the movies? Or is it going to be a spin-off series to the whole franchise altogether? That I don't really know. And I guess the best answer to that is just going to be, we'll have to wait and see. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't trust DreamWorks with how they're going to adapt this, because the thing is, DreamWorks Animation, they really do well in terms of their, of their Netflix series. They often do a really good job, and when they're good, they can be great, and they can deliver some of the best animated series that you would find on Netflix. Case in point, and even in the animation scoop, they brought in a whole bunch of different examples, including, of course, the Tales of Arcadia trilogy by Guillermo del Toro, or at the very least, Troll Hunters and Three Below. I don't think Wizards is officially out yet. You also got, just recently with She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. That's another series that's also getting a lot of critical acclaim and also a lot of a prominent fan base. And so much more, of course. So from there, I do trust that DreamWorks could possibly make something great out of Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. But my worry is just, are we going to be like Jurassic World, or are we more going to be like Jurassic Park? Or at least the spirit of Jurassic Park. I think that's the best way to describe my concern. Are we going to be more like Jurassic World or the spirit of Jurassic Park? Because honestly, I would rather have a series that's more a bit like Jurassic Park and honoring the spirit of it than give us another freaking Jurassic World and have dumb cameos from the characters of Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. I don't know. That's something I'm a little bit concerned. But either way, with Camp Cretaceous, I guess the only way we'll know how it's going to be is when we shall wait for the series to come out on Netflix sometime in 2020. So with that said, though, I want to go into the chat wall, and I'm going to ask you guys, what do you all think about Camp Cretaceous? Is this a series that you guys would be interested in? Are you guys not really that much of a fan of this? Would you watch it? Would you not? Let me know what you guys think right over here. Okay, so let's see what we got in terms of the comments. Let's see. I love the... hold on a second. There's just... okay, never mind. I love the Jurassic Park franchise. From all of its movies to its games, I am super excited to see this show on Netflix. My only worry is that they might be a little bit too kid-friendly. I do have one question, though. Do you think they'll include more than just dinosaurs, like the animals before the dinosaurs, like the Dimetrodon, or the ones after the dinosaurs like the mammoth? Or is it just gonna have dinosaurs? Well, to answer that question, look at the games or at the very least, look at Jurassic World, because it might be a little bit more based on that, and plus the fact that it is called Jurassic World. Like, you look at Jurassic World and try to ask yourself that. Do we see animals that are after the days of the dinosaurs? If yes or no, well then that's going to answer your question right there. Let's see, what else do we got here? If only all dinosaurs are their riders, I should have known that it was compared to dragon riders, because it was the opposite thing, that it will become teamwork for fictional matters as what it always looks like. I might be going to Jurassic Park Dino Pictures as a spray. Looking forward to seeing all these. Good to see them. Well, I mean, the only thing we know is just the concepts, and I mean, this literally just got announced this week. Maybe you could be right that this could be like another Dragon Riders, considering that we did get like the full-on conclusion of How to Train Your Dragon. Like, the whole series is going to be over, so maybe they would want another Dragon Riders in the form of dinosaur riders with Camp Cretaceous. Who knows? Maybe that's the case, maybe it won't. Again, that's an answer that I feel like we'll have to wait and see. Let's see now. I haven't watched the Jurassic Park movies, but this is an interesting idea. Keep in mind, this is not the first attempt of a Jurassic Park series. Back in the 90s, there were 2 attempts of a series based on it, but scrapped. But that's the thing. Those TV shows were scrapped. And I'm not necessarily surprised that they would want to do a Jurassic Park series, but ultimately it didn't really work out. So at the very least, it seems like this one might be something that will legitimately work out. All right, I'm going to go and read one more comment over here. I hope this series is good considering of bringing DreamWorks Animation to, hold on a sec. Bringing this animated series, okay. I hope this series is good considering of bringing DreamWorks Animation to animated this series. But I hope it doesn't fall into the Jurassic World territory and just be good. For the Jurassic World movies, the first one was okay. The second, it was pure badness that has a lot of stupidity in there. Hell, I even put this among one of my worst films of 2018. By the way, I agree with your opinion on that, but still, I hope DreamWorks does well with the series and make it good. Yeah, well, we'll just have to wait and see with how DreamWorks is going to develop it. Again, we're going to know much more information in the future. We only know the announcement right now. It's going to be coming out on Netflix in 2020, so keep your eyes out next year for Kamp Cretaceous. All right, let me get some water now. Okay, so that's all good right over here. And now it shall be time, folks, that we are going to be jumping into our next story. And no, folks, we are not going camping. But this time around, we are actually going to be playing some games. And very interestingly enough, we're still sticking to the theme of another animated series announcement. And yes, this one is going to be from Netflix as well. But this time around, Netflix decided to bring out their decks, and they're gonna play a little game of Magic! Yes, it is official. Netflix has revealed that they are gonna be collaborating with Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro's All-Spark Animation, there's no plural there, in order to go and create an animated series based on the myths and lores of the popular card game Magic the Gathering. But it's not just going to be a collaboration with the companies, because there's also a dynamic duo that they have brought on board in order to bring this series to life. Yes, folks, Netflix has brought on board Joe and Anthony Russo in order to help out develop this series. And just in case you guys don't know who the Russo brothers are, these are the dynamic duo that has brought to us some of the biggest Marvel movies. In fact, these are the people that have brought us Captain America the Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, and of course, the biggest movie of the year and possibly of the decade as well, The Avengers Endgame. And we actually do have a quote here coming from the Russo brothers, as they have stated in terms of this project. We have been huge fans and players of Magic the Gathering for as long as it has been around, so being able to help bring these stories to life through animation is a true passion project for us. We also received a comment over here coming from John Derderian, who is the head of anime programming on Netflix, as he stated, Magic is a beloved global franchise with a massively engaged fan base that has only continued to grow over the last 25 years. There's no one better suited to bring this story to audiences around the world than Joe and Anthony Russo, whose talent for genre storytelling is unmatched, as it is as it is demonstrated by their central role in creating some of the biggest box office hits of all time. Now, keep in mind that we don't necessarily have a full-on... Okay, what's going on? No! Hold on a sec. No, I didn't click on... Stop! I didn't mean to click on anything. Okay. For some reason, there seems to be a surprise link, and I didn't know that it was there, but it made me click on it anyways. But anyways, back to what I was talking about. In terms of Magic the Gathering with this series... we don't necessarily have a whole lot of information of what is going to be in itself. The most that I've got, which by the way, this is coming from my source here in Variety, The most that it describes in terms of its history is just the Russos will oversee the creation of an all-new storyline and expand on the stories of the Planeswalkers, which are magic-wielding heroes and villains. And other than that, that's pretty much all that we have gotten. And one thing that I will say that in terms of Magic, I'm kind of surprised that it really did take them that long in order to develop something out of Magic the Gathering. Now, I will say that in terms of my relationship with Magic the Gathering, I'm not necessarily all that familiar with it. I've already stated before that I was much more of a Yu-Gi-Oh person, and for a long time during my teen years and my childhood, I was mostly playing with Yu-Gi-Oh cards and playing in local tournaments with Yu-Gi-Oh. But of course, I was aware about Magic because the big trading card games were Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, and then there was also Magic. It wasn't until like a few years ago that some of my friends decided to teach me how to play Magic, and I was starting to get the hang of it. Like, I do understand the mechanics. Now, I'm not saying that like now I'm a major Magic player and I'm like spending thousands of dollars per month on like packs and a whole bunch of decks in order to build stuff and enter tournaments and all that kind of thing. But I am pretty familiar with Magic the Gathering and what it is. But one thing that I do know with Magic is that I know that it is something that's really popular, that it is one of, if not the most popular card game that there is out there, that, of course, like it's stated right over here, it has a very prominent fan base. And honestly, in this day and age where media really wants to go and adapt whatever they can and turn it into a movie or a TV show, I'm surprised it really did take them that long in order to develop Magic the Gathering. I mean, in recent years, we have seen film adaptations of many different films that are very popular in nerd culture, especially with World of Warcraft, with the Warcraft movie. We're starting to see movies based on board games, and then like we've also got now major motion pictures of stuff like Pokemon and all different sorts of video games. So I'm surprised it even took them a while to even think about something like Magic the Gathering. Like, I thought that pretty soon we would have a Magic the Gathering the movie, but no, that's not really the case. We're actually going to get a series based on Netflix. And even at that, we don't fully know how it's going to be. We don't even know the medium, if it's going to be hand-drawn, if it's going to be computer animation. But one clue that we do have is the fact that we did get a quote from John Derderian, and the fact that he is the head of anime programming. So maybe this is a bit of a guess, but I wouldn't be surprised if what we're going to get from this Magic the Gathering series will be very similar to Netflix's Castlevania series, where it is all anime and much more adult-oriented. Because that's one thing that I know Magic the Gathering is going to be. Considering that most Magic players are more teenagers and they are more young adults, this is going to be something that will, at the very least, be PG-13, or who knows, maybe they'll go that extra mile and be like Castlevania and really hit that hard R. So they won't be afraid to go into that violent area, to go like really extreme with the nudity, with the gore and stuff like that. I highly doubt it, though. I can imagine maybe they'll just stick more into PG-13, because even with the cards themselves, when you do look at their artwork, they do keep it a little bit tame. They don't go full on extreme, but you could tell that it is something that it will take itself seriously. And that's my guess, is that we're going to get something a little bit like the Castlevania series on Netflix, but a little bit tamer, but something that will be taking itself much more seriously. And especially the fact that we do have the addition of Joe and Anthony Russo. That's going to be an interesting twist of what they are going to do with this series. Maybe this will turn out to be pretty epic. I do think, though, that bringing in the Russo brothers, it is actually a pretty smart move, because with what we have seen with stuff like Civil War and the last two Avengers movies with Infinity War and Endgame, one thing that these guys know what to do is, they know how to adapt a story in a massively large scale with a very large amount of prominent characters. And with Magic the Gathering, of course, there are plenty of memorable characters, and there are, different types of heroes and villains that you would see pop up a few times, not just, like, in terms of the cards themselves, but even as their artworks, that they would make some appearances and some characters that people are pretty familiar with. So with the Russo Brothers, it is something that will give a lot more hype to the series, and that you would probably expect this to be on a massively grand scale, especially when some of the creatures that are involved, well, of course, they can be absolutely gigantic, or they could literally be the size of planets. So overall, even though there isn't a lot that's revealed, I can expect this to be something that can really work. Like, if this series works, it's gonna be absolutely tremendous, and it's going to be a brand new fan favorite series from Netflix. Now, we don't necessarily have an official release date of when this is going to be coming out, but so far, it does seem like a very fascinating idea, and especially by bringing in the Russo brothers, I'm sure the hype is going to be real on this one, so let's just hope for the best to see what Netflix is going to do with this series. Okay, with that said now, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask, what do you all think of this Magic the Gathering series by the Russo brothers and Netflix? Do you think this is going to be something that will be absolutely epic? Do you think that this might end up becoming a disappointment? Are you guys excited about it? Are you guys not interested? Let me know what you think. Alright, so, what do we have over here? Sweet. I read it before, so I know about it. I just got into Magic the Gathering just yesterday. I assembled my first deck. I lost interest in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it started to get complicated, and I suck at the games, meaning every duelist I run into is likely to whoop my ass. Pokemon trading card game is more simple, but can get easier as you master it, and quickly gets tedious. I learned how to play it a few months ago, and I have high hopes for this animated series. Oh my god, dude, let me tell ya, I know the exact same feeling about Yu-Gi-Oh! Because honestly, even if I only quit Yu-Gi-Oh! Just like a few years ago, I know that I cannot go back there because the game has completely changed, especially with the new Link monsters. It's just like, I don't even know what's going on anymore. It's a game that it's really making itself a little bit too complicated, and it's just constantly trying to make itself a little too overpowered sometimes. Whoo, boy, trust me, the feelings are right there with you, dude. Okay, let's see now. I've never really ever been able to get into board games, but I do find a lot of the lore and fantastical elements in ones like Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, and World of Warcraft rather fascinating and enriched. I look forward to seeing whatever they do with this series in particular. And that actually does bring up a very good point, because not only is this something for Magic the Gathering fans, but I'm sure this is also going to be something for non-Magic fans who they don't know how to play, but they are intrigued of the artwork. They are intrigued of the myths and legends that they would bring up. Like, that is definitely going to be something for them, and something that's very beneficial, that you can enjoy Magic the Gathering without playing the game. So that could be a major bonus for this series. Okay, let's see, what do we got here? I haven't played Magic the Gathering, but I have heard about I've heard about it when I was a teenager. On one hand, it could be pretty good, just like Skylander Academy, which was also a Netflix show. On the other hand, it might not be very successful. It could last for just a few seasons, like many shows based on games like Skylander Academy and even the 80s Dungeons and Dragons show. Oh my god, that 80s Dungeons and Dragons show. Yeah, oh my god. When they adapted Dungeons and Dragons, rather it be the TV show or even the movie, it's something. Like, I think that's the best way to put it, is that, yeah, there's certainly something. Okay, so with that said and done, I think we are all good with Magic the Gathering. And now it is time that we are going to be jumping into another game with a bonus miscellaneous. And honestly, this was something that I absolutely cannot ignore, because right now I feel like this is probably my most anticipated game that I want to get on the Switch. And what I'm talking about, of course, is going to be Pokémon Sword and Shield. Yes, for those of you who don't know, Nintendo had a Nintendo Direct, which is pretty much a 15-minute video revealing some new information regarding Pokémon Sword and Shield, which is going to be the 8th generation Pokémon game and the next big Pokémon game that's going to introduce to us new gaming techniques and, of course, some brand new Pokémon. So, with that said, I got my source here on IGN, and we're gonna go and jump into some different topics. So we're gonna go one by one of the different elements that this Nintendo Direct has introduced. And first and foremost, we're gonna go and talk about the new battle mechanic. Now, in the previous Pokemon games, they have new ways to go and spice up the Pokemon game, rather it be with Mega Evolutions in Pokemon X and Y, or Z moves in Pokemon Sun and Moon. But in Sword and Shield, we actually got, let's see, we got the Dynamax. Yes, we got Dynamax. Now, for those of you wondering, what is Dynamax? Well, basically, you're taking giant Pokemon and you're pitting them in battles. Yes, this is going to be a new technique where at one point of the game, you can actually activate something called Dynamax, where it takes your Pokemon and makes them absolutely giant in order for them to go and use massive moves to deal giant damage to your opponent. But it's not going to last long. Like, you'll only have like you're gonna have like 3 turns of the giant Pokemon, and then that's pretty much it. Now, when Dynamax was announced, I knew that this is something that I feel like this is the greatest gift that Nintendo has ever given to the macrophiliacs of DeviantArt. I'm sure DeviantArt is having a freaking wild time and having a blast to do whatever they like with Dynamax Pokemon to satisfy their macrophilia needs. Oh boy. In fact, I'm sure DeviantArt is a lot scarier to go and enter into right now. For several reasons, but this could be one of them. But going back into Dynamax, it is actually pretty interesting, but what I do find to be pretty cool about it is, of course, the fact that we got giant Pokemon, that now we got Kaiju Pokemon, and it feels coincidental that it's right on time, since Godzilla King of the Monsters just got released. But when I first heard about Dynamax Pokemon, that you could take your Pokemon and make them absolutely giant, I'm not the only one who thought about this, but the first thing that I thought of regarding all this, regarding Dynamax Pokemon and turning your Pokemon into giant, is, of course, what would Wailord look like as a Dynamax Pokemon? Because, as you guys probably know, Wailord is the biggest Pokemon of all time, even bigger than like all the legendary Pokemons. And if you take a Wailord and you decide to go and Dynamax that, I think you're pretty much gonna have a Wailord that's just gonna be lying on top of the earth. Like, you'll see the globe, and just like this giant Wailord that's just lying on top, like, hey guys. Oh my god, like that, I know that it just became a popular meme where you just see a whole bunch of like Wailord pictures, like just coming down on the earth like a giant freaking meteor, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And I'm glad that I'm not the only one who has thought about it, especially with all the beautiful memes. So that's one thing I would like to see, is just how is Wailord gonna look like in Dynamax form, because it'll just be absolutely hilarious. And I do hope that they can stay true to the proportions that, like with Wailord, he's big, and now he's just absolutely massive. He can pretty much destroy the entire Galar region by just rolling over. And that's it. I'm gonna dominate everything by threatening a giant Wailord in the sky, and all I have to do to destroy everything is just say, Wailord, sit! Oh boy. But of course, these giant Pokemon are not just there for the Dynamaxes. There is also something called raid battles, and this is going to be something that I'm going to be reading from my source in IGN, because it is something a little bit more complicated. So, as it states here, 4 Pokemon trainers can team up to fight and capture wild Dynamax Pokemon who will stay in Dynamax form for the entire battle and have special powers to make for formidable opponents. Only one trainer can Dynamax his Pokemon per battle, so coordination is key. If victorious, the Pokemon trainers will have a chance to catch the Dynamax Pokemon in a truly dynamic catch sequence. These Dynamax Pokemon also vary depending on where you are and the current weather, and some Pokemon can only be caught through max raid battles. For example, trainers can face Steenie? I think they meant Steelix. Can fix Steelix when it's sunny and Lantern when it's raining. Now, for max raid battles, you can you can connect with friends for that, or you can actually go and connect online. So there is that. Basically, this is kind of a unique, gimmicky way of battling with Pokemon where you can actually fight the giant Pokemon and you'll have a chance to go and actually catch it. Now, I don't know if this is going to be something that I'll see a lot of people be involved with, considering this is something that will require coordination and teamwork. And usually with Pokemon, lots of people like myself, we prefer to just go on our own path with it. But we'll see. Maybe with the internet connection, it will actually work out. Now, on top of that, also, you do see that when you're going to be walking around Pokemon, when you're going to be walking around the Pokemon world, when you're walking around Galar, there will be times that sometimes you'll walk into the grass and then suddenly you'll see Pokemon. But at the same time, you can even walk around the area and you'll see the Pokemon come out, like just appearing out of nowhere. Sometimes you'll see them just pop out. Like there's this picture here where you see the trainer just on his bike on the water, and you see like this Milotic, and you see a Manatee just on the side, just swimming casually. So there are those areas. Then you also got, well, they also talked about wild areas, which is the same thing. We all know about that. And then also you got your Pokedex, which is going to be the Rotom phone, which is basically the smartphone, except the Pokemon Rotom is possessing it, and that's where you're going to get all your information, where you're going to get your Pokedex info, where you get where you can find your items and all that kind of stuff. So that's basically kind of the Sword and Shield version of Rotom. Then they would go and describe about areas like you got a temple that worships Diglets, and okay, next up that we got here is some brand new Pokemon that they revealed, and we're gonna go and start things off with the fan favorite. This is the Pokemon that people are going absolutely crazy over. Meet Wooloo. This is the sheep Pokemon, and the thing with Wooloo is that it's basically a fluff ball, but as a sheep. Like, imagine you take a giant ball of cotton, you give it a little sheep head, and 4 stubby little legs. And that's what you got. That's Wooloo. And people are absolutely going crazy over it. It's the new cute Pokemon that people are falling in love with. They just adore this little Wooloo so much. And you see all these different artworks going over Wooloo. It's just crazy. Like, people cannot get enough of the softness and the cuteness of Wooloo, because I think even Wooloo right now is kind of like stealing the show, even over the starter Pokemon. Like, the starter Pokemon used to be, like, the big thing, but now Wooloo seems to be the big deal, like, seems to be the #1 cute Pokemon that is just trending all over the internet. Then, next up we got is going to be a flower Pokemon, which is going to be called Gossifleur, which is a little stem, and like you see a giant yellow flower on its head and like giant red flowing hair. It's not easy to describe, but it's a little flower Pokemon. But also, we have its evolved form, which is called Eldegoss, which is another giant puffball. Like, you got another puffball, but instead of Wooloo, like, basically you got, like, a little stem that's at the bottom, just like Gossifleur. So it's almost like a combination of Wooloo and Gossifleur, and you pretty much got Eldegoss right there. And then you got another Pokemon, which is a turtle Pokemon, but this isn't in the cute category. This is more like in the threatening category. This is called Dreadnought, which is said to be a water and rock type Pokemon, which is basically a turtle with a giant jaw, stating that it has the strong jaw and shell armor abilities. So that's kind of the main thing. It's pretty much a giant turtle that has a giant snapping mouth with giant teeth that is said to bite off chunks of rock and iron. And finally, the last new Pokemon that was revealed, we actually got something called Corviknight, which is a raven Pokemon, and it's all black. But imagine basically you got a raven, but it's all in armor, and that's the main element of Corviknight, is that it's supposed to be a raven that it's also a knight. And it's also stated that Corviknight will pretty much also be kind of like your taxi, where you just check up on Corviknight, and he'll fly you to areas that you've previously been. So instead of using HMO2 with fly, you pretty much call out on Corviknight, and he'll just fly you wherever you want. Now, let's see now. Oh, and apparently we also got some information. They also revealed some information about some of the starter Pokemon, like with Grookey, with Scorbunny, and also with Sobble. But then, let's see. Are there any other... Okay, so we got some other information. Yeah, customize your appearance. Pokemon are also included in Galar's company workforce. So you pretty much got a little bit of element of Detective Pikachu, where you're going to see Pokemon working in society alongside humans. But then we also got other characters. And apparently it's actually interesting to talk about these characters, because a lot of people are pretty interested with these people, considering that with the Pokemon games, they do have a story element into them. So, of course, they would also play a big part in your adventure. So, first and foremost, we have Leon, who is the champion, stated here that he is the undefeated champion of the Galar region. He is beloved across the region and appears to have a Charizard as his Pokemon. But then also we got Hop, who is going to be your rival and is also Leon's younger brother. As it states that Hop is Leon's younger brother, I've said that many times before, and will be a rival to the player character. He dreams to one day become a champion like his older brother, and his journey through the Galar region begins in the same day as yours. And then from there, we also got the Professor, which is going to be an old woman by the name of Professor Magnolia. Yes, Professor Magnolia is the professor of the Galar region who specializes in researching the Dynamax phenomenon and will help the player character through their adventure. But then we got one more character. And this character, oh boy, she took the internet by storm. Probably even more than Wooloo, or maybe not as much as Wooloo, but almost as much. And I am talking about the lady herself, Sonia, who is Professor Magnolia's granddaughter and assistant, and will also help the player character throughout the adventure. Oh boy. Now let me tell you something about Sonya, and I'm gonna be very honest. I feel like Nintendo just went a little too early to reveal Sonya because, oh my god, one look at her and, oh my god, I might have already developed a crush on her. It's just like, I don't know how to say it. My gosh, she's just absolutely beautiful. Like, I don't freaking care about Wooloo. Like, after seeing her, I would take freaking Wooloo and turn that thing into a sweater and a Wooloo chop dinner date for her. Like, oh my god. Like, I don't think I've had this much of a crush on a Pokemon character in a long time, or even ever. Like, oh my god. There's just something about her that it's hard to explain, you know. I feel like Aladdin trying to describe Jasmine to Genie. She you know, she has this smile, you know, and she has this look, and she just, oh, wow, you know, like, oh god. And like, I'm not the only one either. Like, the internet is just immediately in love with this girl, and I don't blame them, so am I. She's, oh god, like, I would just buy freaking Pokemon Sword and Shield just for her alone. I mean, wow, it's hard to, like, I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, she's beautiful. She's just beautiful. Wow, like, she's, wow. I don't know how to say it. It's just, she's just wow. She's wow. Alright, anyways, going back to what I was talking about, of course they're gonna go into gyms. Of course we do have gyms, which in here, in Galar, they actually take the form of giant stadiums, which apparently Pokemon battles are a very popular form of sport. And these giant stadiums are meant to emphasize the grand scale of Dynamax battles, where these are where Dynamax battles will be held, and they look like giant soccer or football fields. And we do know about one gym leader, which is the grass type leader, Milo. And looking at Milo, oh, I did not get the same feelings as Sonya, I can tell you that. I looked at him and I'm like, what in the name of fridge is this? Like, you look at the picture and, like, maybe it's just the way he's designed. The dude has no nose. He looks like, this looks like a Ditto who transformed himself as a human being. And if you've seen Detective Pikachu, you know they could do that. And that's the thing, like, you just got a smile and you got two weird beady eyes. I don't know, it's just and also, the thing with Milo is that he is buffed as F. I don't know, there's just something about this dude, it's like, you look weird, you look like are you sure you're not a Pokemon? Like, that's the thing, it's like, you're the gym leader? I thought you're the Pokemon I have to freaking face. I'm like, you know, I would look at this guy and I would ask, where's your trainer? Are you lost? Are you supposed to be back in your Pokeball? I don't know, I just look at this guy and it's just like, ugh. Okay. But then, of course, the whole Nintendo Direct series, or this whole Nintendo Direct episode, actually did end off with the reveal of the legendary Pokemon, and we only had a clue of what they would be with the logos, where we see a wolf character and we see them with a sword or a shield. But essentially, that seems to be what they are, where our legendary Pokemon includes Zacian, which is a wolf knight holding a sword in his mouth, and also Zamazenta, which is another wolf, which is kind of like the same thing, but is all covered in shields. Now, you may have seen the memes going on where with Zacian, I think that's how you say his name, maybe not, but with Zacian, this is not the first time that we see a wolf character or even a dog holding a sword on his mouth. Like, it has been done plenty of times before, so we got this new edition. I don't know, for me, I feel like this one kind of looks weird in a way, because, I don't know, I can imagine this Pokemon, like, considering it is a legendary, he would be able to speak or something like that. It's like, oh my god, what is that? What? Wait, what did you say? Oh, here, I'm gonna fart a slice over with her. Oh, God. Choking on my own spit with that little skit right there. Okay, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like it is kind of weird, but what I do find actually is pretty interesting to note is the color scheme of it is actually very familiar. Oh man, I wish I've done a little bit more research, but like honestly, the color scheme of the Pokemon, with the bright orange, with the blue, and a bit of the gold at the same time, with a little bit of the pale peach. I don't know who the Pokemon is, but it reminds me of another legendary Pokemon. I forgot his name, but it's the pony one. You guys, like, I think it was from Gen 5 or Gen 6 or something like that. You guys remember the pony Pokemon? The one that, like, it's kind of like a unicorn, but it also acts like a major sword. You know which one I'm, like, for those of you who know Pokemon, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Chatwall, if you know that Pokemon, yes! Thank you so much, King Cerulean. Keldeo! That's the thing. Like, when you look at Zacian and Zamazenta, they have the exact same color schemes as Keldeo, where you see it, and it kind of has the same theme as well, because Keldeo is supposed to be a Pokemon where it has, like, a giant sword as a horn for its head, so it could be the same thing, and maybe Keldeo could actually play a big part in, Keldeo could actually play a big part in the Galar region. Who knows? Like, they do feel like they could have some similarities with Zacian and Zamazenta. And one more thing that they did reveal as well is actually the release date, where they have officially confirmed that Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, along with revealing the cover art for both of them, they will both be coming out on November 15th, 2019. But on top of that, they actually did provide something for the collectors as well, that if you are interested in having both instead of just one of them, you can actually go and get a double pack where you can actually get both Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, which I'm sure it's going to be a popular collectible. That's something that people really want to go and get. For me personally, I think I'm just going to stick to either one of them, like Pokemon Sword or Pokemon Shield. Like, maybe I'll go with Sword, but we'll see how it goes. But overall, with all the announcements that we got, yeah, it really does succeed in actually making me a bit more hyped with Pokemon Sword and Shield. It does look like it's going to be taking the Pokemon games that we know and bring it to the next level. They did introduce like new ways to play, especially with with Dynamax. That looks like it can add a new twist to the Pokemon battles and think about some brand new strategies with what they can do. And especially, like, some of the other Pokemons that they have introduced, so far they seem interesting, especially, like, with Wooloo. And I want to know, does Wooloo have an evolved form? That's one thing I would like to see. Does Wooloo have an evolved form, and does it get a little bit more fluffier? But also, especially with Sonia, like, my new video game crush, like, of course, she's, like, already up there with Daphne and Minna in her princess form at the end of Twilight Princess. Like, oh my god. Like for her, it was like, yes, I'll do anything. I would be like Riley's dream boy from Inside Out. I would die for Sonia. But yeah, honestly, with all this, I feel like I'm really anticipating for Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, and I definitely can't wait to have it come out. Maybe I'll be a little bit more patient, and I'll wait until it officially gets released. I'll wait until Christmas. Like, this would actually make a great Christmas present for me, so I'll remember to write that down for later. But yeah, this actually does look pretty epic, so I feel like this is a great and successful Nintendo Direct, giving us new information, and can't wait for the game to come out on November 15th. So with that said, now I would like to go and pass on to the chat wall, and I want to know what you guys think about the new information that we revealed about Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. Are you guys excited for it? What are the things that, what are the biggest highlights of this Nintendo Direct? And are you guys interested in having Pokemon Sword and Shield after the Nintendo Direct? Let me know what you think. Oh, let's see. Oh, good God. No, dude. Already some guy wants to go out and said, do you prefer Sonia or Princess Daphne? Don't make me frickin' choose, man. One at a time, man. Okay? That's not cool. That's not something that you immediately ask for someone. Come on. You don't immediately ask that question. That's just too hard to pick. I don't know. Can I just start a polyamorous relationship? I'll go polyamorous. I'll see if we can work things out so I can also have like Sonia and Princess Daphne, and they can agree that we can make things work out on this. I don't know. But don't make me choose one or the other, man. Don't make me choose. Okay. Let's see now. Wasn't really a Pokemon fan until recently. I saw Detective Pikachu on opening weekend. Right now, I'm contemplating whether or not a Pokemon from this game will make it into Smash Ultimate. But if not, 100% in the next Smash. I will stay away from DeviantArt for now. Yeah, it's always a great idea to stay away from DeviantArt, unless you can find the right things you want to look for. To be very honest, I would not be surprised if one of the Pokemon that's going to be coming out... Actually, I just realized something. Okay, this is going to be a crazy theory about Smash Ultimate, but I think that one of the upcoming DLC fighters is going to be the final evolved form of Grookey. Because really think about it. We've already got final evolution forms as fighters already. We got a water type with Greninja. We got a fire type with Incineroar. The final evolution of Grookey, I am certain, is going to be the next Smash player that's going to be like on DLC. Like, maybe it's gonna be like one of the last ones, of course. Like, it's gonna be like he'll be out sometime, like maybe in 2020, or even like the last one. But for me, I feel like, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the final evolved form of Grookey could be in Smash Ultimate. You've heard it here first in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Always remember that, dudes. Okay, so I think that could be the scenario. Anyways, let's go back here. I'll have to, if I have to say anything bad about these games, is that the mascot legendaries for this generation feels rather lackluster compared to the previous generations. I mean, 2 wolves with a sword and a shield respectively is almost pathetic compared to what are basically gods of things like the ocean and the land, space and time, the yin and yang, life and death, and the sun and the moon. Yeah, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I do understand what you feel. It does feel like a bit of a downgrade, considering that the legendary Pokemons, that, they're based on amazing grand things where they are basically gods. And then over here, we got, like, freaking weapons. And, like, honestly, I have seen memes where you see, like, basically the cover is basically a doggo with a stick and another doggo where, like, basically he's wearing a bread around his head. So I do get what you mean, that the legendaries, they are a little bit lackluster. Okay, let's see, what else do we got? This was a good direct, and I can't wait for the game. The legendaries kind of look lame, but the game looks great, and the new stuff looks fun. My favorite Pokemon is the turtle, and Sonia is basically the Tifa Lockhart of this game. Oh yeah, you could say that. You could say that. Oh boy, but like the one thing that is more different is that Tifa Lockhart, though, she is packing in the front. Like there's something that's she's got a little more package. I'll just lay it down there. Now I know with Sonia, like, of course, there are a lot of artists, and especially not safe for work artists, that will able to add a bit more package onto her. But I'll just lay it down there. I don't know if I want to go a little more details, because then the questions are going to come in. Okay, anyways. Let's see here. Excited! I own a Nintendo Switch and I want to get this game. Especially, these are the first two main Pokemon games that are not originated on the Nintendo 3DS, considering Nintendo is planning to discontinue the 3DS sometime this year. That's a bit of a shame. The 3DS was a really good console, you know? Yeah, and it actually really did exactly what it advertised, like 3D without glasses. You know, it was really cool. I'm gonna miss the 3DS. I really will. Alright, so I think with that said, we pretty much laid down all that I have to say for this one right over here with Pokemon Sword and Shield. So once again, just to remind you guys that it will be on November 15th that the official release date is going to come out. So remember that. Either that or you can wait until Christmas when it comes out, like probably what I will do. And now, it is time that we shall move on to the grand finale. And this time around, it's going to be another bonus miscellaneous, but this time, we're going to be diving into technology, and we're going to be talking about some computers. Now, don't worry, guys. Even if you are not knowledgeable on computers, or you don't know anything about computers, then the thing is, with this one I have right over here, you don't have to be a genius on technology to know how absolutely ridiculous this is. And I am, of course, talking about Apple with the Worldwide Development Conference. Yes, what I'm going to be highlighting over here is actually going to be the main presentation. Now, of course, Apple and the president, Tim Cook, pretty much revealed a whole bunch of things of what's going to be coming up from Apple, whether it be new updates on softwares, new ways that you can experience your iWatch, your iPads, your iPhones. But the main thing that it has presented, the main star of this year's Worldwide Developers Conference, is actually the Mac Pro, which is the brand new computer from Apple. And basically the way that they advertise this is that the Mac Pro is this brand new supercomputer that is easily customizable so that you can put in whatever game card that you can put in to really blast out the graphics to make it as amazing as it can be. You can put in as much you can put in as much external hard drive so that it can have all the terabytes you want. It's made to be customizable to fit your needs. And they pretty much advertised it as this supercomputer, and maybe this will sound a little bit of an exaggeration. They pretty much presented it like the computer is so powerful that you could pretty much develop an entire Pixar movie, like do all the animations, do all the editing, do all that kind of stuff in that one computer. That's basically the way that they want to try to present it. However, the price of it, oh boy, is it big. If you want to buy a Mac Pro, that thing will cost you $5,999. Yes, a $6,000 computer. Oh, but wait, folks. There is more. There is more, because if you want the computer, then also you would want to get the brand new screen that comes with it, which they call it the Pro Display XDR, which does feature some amazing things, including 10-bit color, 1,600 nits of brightness, and 1,000:1 contrast ratio. Oh, and did I forget to mention that the resolution is 6K? No, not 1080p, not 4K, but 6K. And that thing will come separately, and that will cost you $4,999. Yes, $5,000, almost as much as the frickin' computer itself. Oh, but wait, there is more. Now, that is not the main things that people were focusing on. No, what really got a lot of people talking is the stand. Yes, the stand comes separate. Now, this, keep in mind, this is just a regular stand that is made for the Pro Display XDR. There's nothing technologically advanced. It's meant to be a stand that you can move it up and down, or you can even rotate it so that it can be in portrait. Some developers and some computer users actually like doing that. And that's all it basically does. Now the price of the stand alone, the price of the stand that all it does is just hold the freaking computer screen, will cost you $999. Yes, a stand for a computer screen will cost you $1,000. Oh, but don't you worry, guys. I know that may sound a little bit a lot, but there is actually a cheaper alternative in which they would like to call the Visa Mount Adapter, where basically it's a little tool that you can put it on any stand or any rail, and you can pretty much put your screen on it. It's basically so that you can put the Pro Display XDR and you can hook it up onto that thing so that it can go on any stand and wherever it wants, and that thing will only cost you $200. So in total, if you want to go and buy all this, if you want to buy the Mac Pro, if you want to buy the Pro Display XDR, and if you want the Pro Stand, all that is going to cost you $12,000. $12,000. Before taxes, by the way. $12,000 for a new computer with a screen and a freaking stand. Which, by the way, the screen and the stand cost equally as much as the computer itself. Now, before I continue, I would just like to go and clarify one thing about Apple and stuff like that. As you guys probably know, yes, I am an Apple user. I actually do have an iPhone, and even the main computer that I am even using right now is actually an iMac. So I do like Apple's products. I feel like with their computers and their services, they do cater a little bit more to me as a creative person. So I really do enjoy that. Oh, and I even have iPads on top of that as well. So yeah, I am an Apple user. I do like Apple's products. However, one thing I like more than Apple is saving money. And looking at this, I'm like, what the fridge, man? Like, you expect me to go and purchase a new freaking computer with a screen and a stand that has to come separately at $12,000? You better have a freaking package, man. Like, you better have a package that it all comes together, that I could just buy that for like $10,000. I mean, seriously, you gotta, like, honestly, you're really taking the piss at the mass market. Now, I know that technically, I would be a lot more understanding if the case right over here is that they're only trying to sell this towards big companies. You know, that they're going towards companies that needs these supercomputers in order to go and, like, do their work. You know, if they would want to sell this at a company like Pixar, like Illumination, like Blue Sky, like DreamWorks, that's completely understandable, because those are companies that would be able to afford these giant computers, these supercomputers, in order to go and do their stuff, in order to have the best technology they can have available in order to go and craft their work. That, you know, that's perfectly fine. But the thing is, this is Apple, and they're putting their stuff in the mass market where even the average consumer can look at this and try to buy it. Like, are you freaking kidding? Like, that's honestly the part where I find to be absolutely ridiculous. And especially when you, and I do understand why everybody is pretty much freaking out over the stand itself. $1,000 for a freaking stand. Why are you selling a stand for $1,000? That's just trolling people, man. You are just trolling people, because I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of a context. Now, my iMac that I have right now, I bought this probably, it's been a few years now. I would say it's about 2 years since I've had my iMac. And that one cost me about a little over $2,000. So imagine this. 2 of these stands cost as much as my computer. Like, I have a full-on computer that honestly costs 2 of the freaking stands that's meant to hold the screen, not even hold the computer, but hold the screen that's supposed to connect the computer. And you know, honestly, the most insane thing about all this, the fact that they're selling $12,000 of a computer kit, I only have one question about this, and one question I would like to ask. How long will this last? Like, if I would spend $12,000 on this computer with the screen and the stand, how long is that gonna last me until I need to go and get an upgrade? Because as you guys probably know, technology isn't forever. They have a relatively short lifespan until the technology doesn't necessarily work anymore, that it's getting too old to function as properly as it used to, that or technology has, they've pretty much grown so fast that right now the technology that you would have currently is just a bit outdated. So with that said, if I'm gonna spend freaking $12,000 on a computer with a screen and a stand, that thing should be the last computer I should ever own in my life. Because now we are at the point where we're literally entering 5 digits for a freaking computer that should normally be at 4 digits. When you're entering $12,000, it's either I can get that or I can buy a brand new car with it. Honestly, I know that with Apple, they can make amazing advancements in technologies, but honestly, pricing that as much as a freaking car, that's where I find to be absolutely ridiculous. And you know, the saddest thing is that there are people who have made posts, and they are perfect examples to pretty much show that you can pretty much get the same thing as the Mac Pro, but for a much cheaper price. That you can actually go and buy yourself a supercomputer where you can get all the different parts in order to have the same technological advancements as the Mac Pro, along with a major computer screen that can have the same power as it can have the same power as the Pro Display XDR and stuff like that. And it could pretty much ending up costing you probably around $1,500 or maybe even $2,000. Yeah, that is a little bit expensive, but it's not freaking $12,000. So honestly, for me, even if I am a Mac person, I'm not gonna freaking buy this. It is way too freaking expensive for a godforsaken computer. And even if I would want a supercomputer, I would rather build it myself and get the parts separately, where I can save much more money on that. So that's kind of the main thing I would rather do. You could do all the, you can have all the cool presentations as much as you want, Apple, but this, no. Honestly, now you're at the levels that you're putting things so expensive that you're just trolling. The only people that I can imagine that would want to have this in the first place, in terms of average consumer people, are those who have money literally to burn. I can imagine it's the kind of people, I remember in this one classic Looney Tunes cartoon where you see Granny and, she's in her chair and, she's apparently portrayed as, this massive millionaire or, even this billionaire, where she's just, rocking in her chair next to a fire, and she was starting to get cold, so she goes on this bin that's literally called Money to Burn, and she grabs these bills and just chucks it in the frickin' fire. I don't know what that cartoon is called, but it's the one where Yosemite Sam and Bugs Bunny is fighting for the love of Granny, because Yosemite Sam clearly wants he clearly wants to marry Granny for her money, and Bugs Bunny decided to do the right thing and just troll Yosemite Sam out of it. So that's kind of the big thing about all this, is that honestly, this is just for people who have freaking money to burn. Why the fridge would you want to present that as the next consumer product and put it in the mass market. What the fridge, Apple? I mean, it's fine if you want to sell it to companies, but to the mass market, come on, man. You're just trolling. Okay. With that said and done, though, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to know, what do you guys think about the Mac Pro? Is this something that you guys would like to buy? Would you be... Also, here's a very interesting question. Okay, now I want to ask this to the chat wall. If you guys have the money to go and buy the entire set for the Mac Pro, if you have the money to actually purchase a Mac Pro with the Pro Display XDR and the Pro Stand, would you buy it? Let me know what you think and tell me if this is something that you would be interested in purchasing if you have the money, of course. Okay, let's see. Do we have some responses? Okay. Let's see. Sheesh, no way am I spending thousands of dollars on a new Mac. I'm happy with just my Alienware laptop and Windows 8.1, thank you. For those who actually want to get this, aside from your bank account being dyed up, some of them might be a little disappointed as iTunes will not be compatible for any future Macs, even this one. Yeah, honestly, yeah, I've heard that apparently they want to shut down iTunes, and that one I'm a little concerned. Am I no longer going to have my iTunes? Like, what about my song library? Like, am I still going to have a place where I can have my song library? I'm just, that's honestly something I want to ask. Okay, let's see now. In my opinion, Mac Pro was revived as a new model, and it has a good look. iOS 13 was announced, and everybody will replace iTunes with new music look. It has a dark theme and lyrics too long for a song. I barely hope the future was going to be in the 2020s. At least Valve Software's Portal has a good start in 2007 when Half-Life Episode 1 and 2 and Team Fortress 2. It might come out to think the geniuses behind Macintosh veterans, and well, I kind of stopped from there. Okay, as a general Mac user, I find this to be an overbloated venture of Apple's part. I've been more and more disappointed in Apple's recent developments, and it feels like it will bomb in their face. I don't know. Like, of course you're gonna have those insane people that will buy whatever new Apple product is gonna come, so... Is it gonna fail? I don't know. Like, you would be surprised. Like, don't ever underestimate the stupidity in consumers and what they would purchase. Okay, let's see. Wow, this is real. Wow, this really reached up to the point where you may want to win the lottery along with 3 more lotteries and hope to be lucky, or even think you would want to have a chance to ever buy a car, a house, or a computer. What do you do when you have that kind of movement? Yeah, I mean, that really does, that is kind of a sad thing. But, honestly, the good news about it is that this is just Apple. This is just Mac. At least we're not at the point where the PCs are doing the same thing, where now you have to spend $10,000 on a freaking computer. You know what I mean? Okay, I'm going to go and read one more comment to see if there is any more to say. Would there be one more comment to go and read? Let's see. I'm an Apple fan. Sorry about that. I'm an Apple fan, but I wouldn't buy the set even if I did have the money. Okay, so it looks like nobody wants to go and buy a Mac Pro, even if they would have the freaking money for it. So with that said, I think it should go and conclude this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, and let me just say, thank you guys so much for coming, thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you guys so much for listening. It has been an absolute blast with this episode. I've had a lot of fun with it, and hopefully we will continue with the next episode with more crazy news that we will have in the future. So with all that said and done, I would just like to say thank you guys so much for watching, thank you guys so much for listening, and until next time, see you later, dudes!